All right, everyone, we're 1 minute in, so I think we will just dive in, get started. All the stragglers will be able to come jump on in and see all as we get going. Before we get started, thank you everyone for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about Salesforce Connections, all the fun that came from the event, all the fun things that myself and my colleagues at the event learned. Very excited to be going into this topic with everyone and just kind of sharing all the fun that's going to be coming and that came from Connections. All right. So today it's going to be myself and my colleagues Mike Morris and Adam Babcock. So quick introduction for myself. My name is Jacob Catalano. I'm a senior engagement manager at Sercante. Was very honored to be able to go to Connections and learn all the fun things that was marketing on the Salesforce platform, all things data cloud, all things AI. So very excited to share all my findings with you. I'll let Mike and Adam take a quick second to introduce themselves.
Sure. Thank you, Jacob. So like Jacob, I'm also a senior engagement manager at Sercante. Been here about 5 years. My background is marketing, and this was my first connection since like 2016. So I was delighted to be there as well. It was a really fun experience for me to go back, and my role has changed. I'm no longer a pure marketer like I was last time I was there, but still my marketing hat on. And as Jacob said, absorbed all things data cloud and AI. Anyone who was there knows that those were the two I guess predominant topics of the event, and it was just a great event and it was a blast. So, Adam, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, hello, everyone. My name's Adam Babcock. I'm a solutions architect with Sercante, mainly focused on Marketing Cloud and Data Cloud. I've been with Sercante for about 6 months now, but I have been working in the Marketing Cloud space for the past 15 or so years. And like Mike, it has been quite a bit since I've attended Connections, so it was great to get back there and see the excitement around all the new products and be able to come back and share some of those insights with you guys.
Well, I'm excited to dive into it all. That was my first Connections, and like y'all, so for me it was just so a little overwhelming just because there was so much information thrown at you, but it was so fun to just be able to be a part of it all. So with that said, our agenda for today, we're going to be going through kind of our key takeaways, what we thought were the big call out points that we wanted to remember for ourselves, but also think were most important to share with everyone in the community. Then we're going to go through what were our takeaways and what were our insights and how do we want to action on those takeaways. And just kind of, again, go through what's important that we believe is important for the communities as the kind of Sercante subject matter experts in this situation. We want to make sure we can share as much information that we took from the event as possible. And then we'll have resources and Q&A towards the end. So kicking us off into our first takeaway, Adam, let's dive on in.
All right. So if it wasn't obvious from Mike's little introduction there, the first takeaway was definitely that data and AI is the future. From the opening keynote to all of the sessions that I attended, every single one of them touched on either data cloud and how it powers marketing and AI and all of that connected experiences. I will say, like I mentioned, it's been quite a while since I attended Connections, and it definitely stood out to me how Connections has kind of went from being very Marketing Cloud platform specific to much more broader and being kind of more geared towards Data Cloud and AI. And I think obviously that's because that's the future. That's where the product is going. That's where the industry is going. Data Cloud is going to be that foundation for your marketing efforts. It helps provide that full visibility into your customer data and what that unified profile looks like so that you can activate and use that across other channels and create deeper insights and personalization and really power that AI, which is going to be a huge part of of these marketing tools and marketing efforts moving forward. And Jacob, if you want to go to that next slide, we put a quote here from our CEO, Andrea, that I thought really did a good job of kind of capturing the excitement and opportunity that's out in the space right now. So Andrea said, it's inviting us to use our imagination again. It's changing the attainability of big dreams for businesses, building seamless, highly personalized and transformative digital experiences. And I thought this was great because, you know, these new tools are creating new opportunities, ways to reimagine the work we do in marketing and really kind of injecting some excitement back into it, right? You know, we've done the same things in the same way for a really long time. And there's finally some tools that are really giving us access to things, to data that we couldn't access before, which gives us more personalization opportunities, more seamless experiences again across different channels. We live in a climate today where, as a consumer, we expect that connected experience. Doesn't matter if I'm on my mobile phone, my computer, a TV, whatever it is, I expect those experiences to connect together. And data cloud and AI is the way that that is going to happen. And so it was really cool just to kind of be there and hear all the ways Salesforce sees this happening and how we can use these tools to kind of to do that stuff. And we will definitely talk about that later on when we kind of get into some of the action items. But that was definitely my number one takeaway. I don't know, Mike, Jacob, if you guys want to kind of weigh in on that as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say what I saw building off what you're saying, Adam. You know, data cloud's a term I've been hearing for a while, and you know, I didn't really get, I guess, that attached to it. Didn't really get that jazzed about it. But then when I was at Connections and actually saw this, I mean, prior to Connections, I did some work. I was actually doing some Trailhead modules, which you all should do. They're awesome. There's a couple great Trailhead modules on Data Cloud that allow you to connect, actually build data streams and actually connect orgs and start actually working on data, building out segments. And doing that just turned the light bulb on for me. And you know, I work with a lot of enterprise level clients, and talking to my clients on a regular basis, data is not in one place. I mean, we all know that. You know, they'll have data in Salesforce, they'll have data in external systems, they'll have data in software tools that are platforms that they run based on their technologies. Sometimes that data gets into Salesforce, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it can get into an account engagement through a custom object, sometimes it doesn't. Even if it does, the segmentation capabilities are really, really limited using custom objects inside account engagement. If you've tried doing that, it's kind of difficult sometimes. But to me, as a former marketer, when I saw the parts together, I was first thinking, gosh, I wish they had this when I was back in marketing back in the day. And it would make my life so much easier. And it opens a lot of doors. I think marketers are probably saying right now, this is what I can do. So they're kind of working within the confines of what they can currently do with data, not what they truly want to do. With data, cloud, and AI, I think it's going to be marketers moving back to what do I want to do, not what am I limited to, what am I stuck, you know, doing. So really exciting time, I think, to be a marketer.
Yeah. And to kind of add to that a little bit, for me personally, I got the way I learned account engagement, the way I learned Salesforce in my background, I was an accidental admin. So I had to just get my hands dirty and learn the tool. And that was some of the most exciting things for me of I got to use my imagination. I got to be able to learn how to bend this tool to my will to get ultimately what I needed done. And it's been a minute on our end to have a tool that gives us that ability to imagine again, what are the possibilities? To Adam's point of our audiences as marketers are expecting this seamless experience of how to be communicated to. And for me, I don't have to keep breaking the same tool over and over and over again. I have a new tool that I can plug in my other systems and figure out how to give my audience that seamless experience. And so I really love the kind of start of the quote of it's inviting us to use our imagination again, because we're not just doing the same minutia over and over. We have so much more opportunity with the ability to plug data cloud into so many systems between engagement, account engagement, and sales cloud. And Google BigQuery, AWS, all your different platforms.
Yeah, and I to Mike, your point too, I really like how Data Cloud kind of gives the marketer some power back that they may not have had in some of these previous tools. I mean, I come from a solutions architect viewpoint, so I'm a little more technical and working in Marketing Cloud, like creating really complicated SQL queries and things like that is sort of second nature to me, but to an everyday marketer, that's a difficult task to do. And having the ability to have all these data points at your access and use really simple click no code type segmentation is really powerful. And then take it a step further and add AI on top of that and create segments off of prompts and things like that. I mean, you don't have to have that technical background to use these tools. Now, don't take that as in you don't have to have a technical background to set up these tools. That's a different story. But to as a marketer to use them,
Yeah.
it really gives you a lot of power that we haven't seen in the Salesforce world for some time.
That is a wonderful call out because we do have to have a little bit more of a technical understanding to get our data talking to each other for connections that are outside of the traditional CRM, because there's a lot of kind of very easy ability to just, if you're trying to connect your CRM and create the unified individual across different multiple objects inside of your Salesforce org, there's a lot of really easy things in place to get us connected and started with that. It's really once we start trying to get our Snowflake or AWS or other kind of data warehouse, data platform tools to start then harmonizing with that Salesforce data is where we do see it more and more, and was talked about connections to have that need. But for the marketer, the big focus is click not code, increasing efficiency. And that's a wonderful segue to our second takeaway that I'll let Mike dive us into.
Yep, I was looking in chat there, and Angelica stole my thunder already on this one. But I very much agree with this. The whole AI now, marketers are out there thinking, oh my gosh, is AI going to replace me? What's going to happen with AI? How's it going to impact my work? How's it going to impact my job? I really look at this a lot like marketing automation. Like when marketing automation first came out, I was in marketing, and I heard that, and I didn't like that because that's like, uh-oh, am I getting automated out of a job here? And obviously, what I found is it created a whole other job for me because I'm in a totally different role now, doing marketing automation consulting, which is something that didn't even exist when it first came out. So the reality is, AI is just going to open up more opportunities for marketers. It's going to basically let marketers do more marketing and actually in more strategic work versus being stuck in the minutia of writing content, of writing, blog posts, headlines, writing email copy. It's going to really automate that process for you. The thing that was really cool is Salesforce said multiple times throughout Connections, and I heard this multiple times, and Adam, I know you, Jacob did too, but their projections are that AI can save the average marketer 5 hours a week. So it's not, going to replace you. It's going to give you more time. So, think about what could you do with 5 more hours? How much more productive could you be? What cool things are there that you really want to work on that you're not being able to right now because you're being stuck doing, kind of busy work that can be somewhat automated. The other thing that's really cool about the way that Einstein works and the Salesforce products is that they keep this human in the middle feature too, which I really like. So, when I go in and I generate my content for my email, Einstein's going to generate the content for me, but it's going to give me the ability to look at it first and say, is this good? Do you like this? What do you want to change? So the human is still there. The human element is there. It's not being removed at all from the process. So that to me is really key. It's working to increase your productivity, not to take things away from you, not to replace you.
Yeah. Someone I spoke to recently, I can't remember who, so apologies, friend, for stealing your quote, but it's the AI is not stealing your job. The person who knows AI is probably going to steal your job. If you don't see the need of AI to increase efficiency and be able to utilize this as a tool to help not only your personal growth, but your company's overall growth, that's the kind of key delineator. And it's something Christina mentioned in chat is we have to have a growing mindset, a growth mindset. We can't just it can't be like the old days of, man, Lightning's not cool. I really like Classic. I don't want to leave Lightning. Classic is just so good, and you stay on Classic forever. Like, you have to realize that the changes are coming, and it's okay to let it help you grow.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of harp on that point of like learn with it, it's not replacing you. AI learns just like we do, right? So if you're not giving that feedback of, is this good content? Is this what I was looking for? Does this segment uh, reach the criteria that I was asking it to meet? It's never going to learn and it's never going to improve. And so you have to be involved in that process. You have to learn how to give more clear prompts. You have to learn um, to give that feedback of whether the response is what you want or not, so that the tool works better for you. Because in the end, as everyone has, Mike and Jacob said, it's about making the tool work better for you so that you're freed up to do other things.
Yep. And
Yeah,
that's actually a good segue into the next slide, kind of talking through, you do have to give it that content. And with ChatGPT, that's an open AI tool. So you don't have that same luxury to be very granular with your prompting, with the data you're putting in. So Mike, I want you, if you can add a little more color to this.
yeah. Again, this is the whole AI move to AI is something I see with a lot of my clients. Again, I work with a lot of enterprise clients, and to Jacob's point, they're leery about using AI because they don't want PII, they don't want their data getting out in public sources. So ChatGPT, Gemini, sources like that are basically public. So if you put something out there, your data is being stored out there. If someone from your org is not careful, they put PII out there, it's going into training models, which we don't want that. Obviously, nobody does. So a lot of my clients have been steering clear of AI because of that. The thing that's really cool about Salesforce Einstein is that it has this trust layer built into it, which is essentially protecting all your data. So first off, when you're actually training that model, ChatGPT, all those things, it's being trained off someone else's data. It's not all your data. So it might or may not be right for you. It might not be your customer, your voice of customer, the way you like putting your things. It may not be your tone. It may not be, the wording you use in your content. Where if you're using Einstein, it's basically being trained on your data, your model, your information. So it's gonna be more customized to you. The thing that I think is really the most compelling of this whole area to me is the trust layer. The trust layer is basically protecting all your data. So, they have data masking in this. So if you're put into a prompt, if you put PII in there, you put person's name in there inside a prompt, it's going to mask it for you. It's going to basically, hashtag that out for you. So it's not going to be out there at all. Other thing that's really cool is they have a zero retention policy. So after that prompt is actually filed, AI is going to generate the content for you. It's going to respond back to you. But after that's done, that prompt's removed. It's not stored anywhere, which is really cool. So you don't have to worry about your data getting out there on the internet. You don't have to worry about anything out there. So it takes a lot of the fear of AI away. So, when you think about AI, I think there's two main fears. One is I'm just going to replace me. We've already addressed that one. And fear two is where's my data going to go? Who's going to get my data? And now this is addressing fear number two from my perspective. So I think this takes all the barriers off of AI, having that trust layer. There's a bunch of articles on it. There's a bunch of videos on it if you want to learn more. But if you just do a Google search for Einstein trust layer, there's a great video where Mark Benioff and the several players from the team actually go through and talk through this trust layer. It will put your mind at ease, I assure you.
And just to kind of echo that a little bit, when I first heard that there's this Einstein trust layer, there's a lot. I mean, when I think of my time with different Salesforce new products and cool and things, I kind of get a little cynical a little bit, like, is it really secure? Is it really there? And I will say, after going to Connections and going on some sessions around what this trust layer is actually doing and actually how we're able to help make sure your data is not going anywhere, it is secure, you're not risking a PII leak. I can say that the kind of campiness of how it sounds is legitimate, though. Like, it is very secure to make sure you don't have to worry about that. Your prompts are accurate to your data. Now, that being said, we hear the term a lot when we talk about data cloud, Genie, all the things as the tool's been sold for the last few years, garbage in, garbage out. And that takes us to our next big takeaway. Mike, you can kind of add some context to that.
I believe this one's Adam.
Oh, Adam, apologies.
It's all right.
Yeah, no worries. So, I mean, for this one kind of holds a near and dear place in my heart, but data really is the key for everything. I mean, absolutely AI, but also just for all of your marketing efforts to make Data Cloud a useful product. You have to have your data, and not to skip ahead, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the action items. But preparing your data, having clean data is super important when you're looking at these new tools, because what Data Cloud is not is it is not a system to clean and manage your data. So you kind of have to have that good data in place in order to get the results you're looking for, especially when it comes to AI, because as Mike mentioned, this is all using your data to provide you those insights, those recommendations, those that feedback you're getting. It's not public data, it's your data. If you have really bad data, a lot of duplicates, just out of context stuff, the results you're going to get are not going to be useful. It's not going to make your life any better. So you really have to kind of take a step back before you jump into this kind of stuff and look at how clean is my data? Is it ready to be unified? Is it ready to provide me AI insights? And we will kind of talk about that in a second. But I mean, that was a huge takeaway from all the sessions I went to. I mean, I think almost every single one of them kind of had that caveat call out early on in the session of data needs to be in a good spot. Make sure you're considering your data before you jump into building segments and unifying profiles and all that kind of stuff.
And the average marketer should know that this is an issue, even just with when you're working with dynamic content inside of account engagement or trying to do personalization inside of engagement. If you have junk data in, you're going to get junk data out. And it's, as Adam said, it's even more prevalent when it comes to the usage of AI and making sure your segments and data cloud are accurate for all of the things you need them for in the future. One thing I heard at the event that I thought was absolutely hilarious was Salesforce is going to have kind of like predetermined information inside of Einstein to kind of help us out to get as a starting point. So the example was, if I go to the AI and I ask it, what is 1 + 1? It will say it equals 2. But if I have other data or other points that kind of force the system to say, actually, that should not be that, I want to override this to have it be something else. So the example is 1 + 1 = 2. I can see it being for like city, state location information, industry location, or industry information. If my data is overriding what the system mainly thinks it is, going forward, the AI is going to think, cool, this is what it should be because you told me this is what it should be. And so that can cause a lot of issues. So if you have junk data overriding what some of the standard functions and standard processes that the AI are outputting, this can cause a lot of frustration down the line for us.
Another key point that came out of a lot of the sessions, kind of like the Adam's point, talking about the data prep, making sure your data is in order and you kind of have your house ready before you start ingesting segments and doing segmentation. Basically, the general, I don't want to make it sound too easy, but basically the clicks and stuff of setting up Data Cloud is relatively minor. The client was the presentations were basically saying 80% of your time should really be spent on the architecture side, making sure that your data is in order, making sure your house is in order. Once you get all that strategy work done, implementing the tool, while it does require some technical prowess, is not that bad. But if you rush ahead and start, doing that first without looking at your data, you're just gonna have a mess in your hands, and untangling it is not gonna be fun. So definitely do it in order. There's an order of operations here when you're setting up Data Cloud.
Oh yeah, definitely to echo the untangling side. Mike and I were in multiple sessions together where they explicitly were saying we don't recommend that you go in, do harmonizations, do data mappings, and then go in and start changing them after the fact.
Hmm.
Historically, in different Salesforce tools, we've been able to get away with breaking it, band-aiding it, fixing it later, and changing it. And that is something you can do in Data Cloud, but is not recommended because the work to go through and unmake those connections and do that band-aiding causes more headache than help. And Adam, I feel like you have one thing to add to that.
Yeah, that's a there's two big things I'll say about that. One, you can undo things, but not in a simple way, right? So a lot of things in Data Cloud kind of require you to start over if you do it incorrectly, which can be a real pain in the butt. But more importantly, Data Cloud is now on a consumption-based model. And as soon as you configure things, you are starting to consume those credits, whether you did it right or wrong. And typically, if you do it wrong, you're probably consuming more credits than you want to. So you have to be really careful, and that's why that preparation and is really key, and planning prior to kind of going in and implementing. This is unlike maybe some of the other Salesforce tools. Data Cloud is not a tool where you kind of just want to jump in and figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And it's
I like that call
oh,
out.
go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I like that call about the consumption model. That was a good point we were talking about in one of the sessions where they're talking about, when you're syncing your data over, when you're bringing your data, ingesting your data, pull the data in at the frequency the data is actually refreshed in the org, not just every day because you can. Like if you have data that's refreshed once a week, have that ingested once a week, because whether or not it's Data Cloud's finding new data or just making a call out, it's going to charge you credit. So if you're looking daily at this, you're going to run up a ton of consumption and cost yourself a lot of money when the data really isn't being refreshed because there's nothing there. So you can set that ingestion to once a week as opposed to daily to make sure you're optimizing. So little tips like that, to Adam's point, don't rush into this. Think about it. Be very deliberate. Do it the right way, or you could end up costing your organization a lot of money.
Yeah, same with segmentation too. Don't forget to deactivate segments that you're no longer using, because if
And they
you're
refresh.
continuing to refresh those segments that are just kind of there and not being used, those are consuming credits. Make sure they're being refreshed at the rate which they need to be, not just because you can refresh them frequently. So I mean, the credit consumption angle of Data Cloud is probably deserves its own webinar, because
Definitely.
it's pretty intense but really important, and it ties really well into like the architecture aspect of how you set Data Cloud up.
Yeah. And I think ultimately what we're getting at this is one of the first products in a while to try to force marketers and force admins to think a little more strategically about how we install and implement things. So much of when we get our install guides and implementation guides is go in, click the button, click the button, click the button, and just get your hands dirty. And so many things about what we do as marketers and what admins overall have to do is kind of taking that step back and mapping out all the steps, mapping out all the data points you have ahead of time, and being really strategic before you just go in and get your hands dirty. And that's a different mindset shift that we as marketers have to be okay with. So all that being said, the next slide goes a little bit away from your traditional data cloud focus, but still very relevant. And it's that Flow's no longer just an admin tool. So we call this out because and the point I'll make before I let Mike dive into this is, for so long to me, Flow was kind of a scary thing. I called it the 4-letter word because it freaked me out. I did not want to touch it. I saw squiggly lines and exclamation points and different objects I wasn't talking to normally, so I didn't want to even think about it. But then as a marketer, I got more and more involved and realized that it's so powerful to help with my normal automations and kind of be a addition to engagement studio programs for me on the account engagement side. What we're seeing though, with the introduction though of Marketing Cloud growth and where that solution will take us in the future is so much of the sending email, making updates, those automations are built on top of Flow. And so it's no longer a tool where you have to have system admin access or special access and you can go in and have to go into setup and find it. Like, it will be more easily available within Marketing Cloud growth. And so there's so much power to making sure that you understand how to use it, because it's going to be something that's really important. So with that said, Mike, I'd love for you to add some color context to that.
Sure. So the one thing that I thought was really kind of cool about this is, if you all remember, like last year, Flow was like the sweetheart of Salesforce. Everything was Flow. Every release had new Flow updates in here. I mean, Flow was the big thing they were investing a ton in, and they still are. But the thing that's really cool now is you're starting to see all these projects that Salesforce is working on kind of coming together. Like Flow is there, Data Cloud, AI. They're all kind of merging together now. So as Jacob was saying, if you look at Marketing Cloud Growth Edition or Salesforce Starter Edition, if you haven't played with these yet, there actually are a few Trailhead modules out there. I think the one is called Email Marketing with Marketing Cloud Growth in Salesforce Starter. But it actually lets you spin up a free 30-day org. So go ahead and do that. But the thing you'll see in that is the campaign object is all kind of combined now. So when you're actually creating a campaign inside Salesforce Starter or Growth, it's actually going to send your emails out through Salesforce, like on platform. And the power behind that is a flow. So when you actually do a multi-step campaign, it's going to pre-build a flow for you. It's going to have your email in there. It's going to have your a wait time for you to configure. It's going to have a second email for you. But then as a marketer, we're going to have the ability to look at these flows and say, okay, that's a great starting point, just like AI. But now I have to go back and edit this flow. I have to add more to it. I need another path off this flow. I need another decision off this. I want to change these variables behind it. So, I'm not speculating what the future is of platforms, but I can see right here on the newer tools coming out that flow is becoming more and more incorporated. Even as a marketer, when I work with clients right now, there's a lot of things that we used to do inside Engagement Studio programs that we're moving over to Flow now, because Flow is a more powerful option. It gives us the ability to action on things multiple times per day, or Engagement Studio programs limited to running once per day, so it's not really super relevant. So it's just a really important tool. And even as a marketer, if you don't have you're not going in there clicking and changing things inside Flow, a general understanding of what Flow is, what it can do, and the power that it has is really critical, I think, to communicating with your Salesforce admins and really just connecting your organization to make sure you're optimizing these tools that you're purchasing.
Yeah. And that is true for what the future looks like for Salesforce products, as well as current day, being able to take data from engagement or account engagement, flow that into Salesforce, and then create really powerful automations that do everything you need and more. I do want to call out, though, just kind of forward-looking statement, safe harbor kind of situation, because there are things that will be coming with growth, with other of these tools in the future. And so some of it is still kind of what was released at Connections. Every connection session had a forward-looking statement, safe harbor kind of statement that highlighted that these are still, some of these tools that we are seeing are still in beta, are still getting the bugs worked out and whatnot. So what we see is the takeaway of what the future looks like for marketers using Salesforce, marketers trying to use really powerful automations to help their day-to-day, so they're not having to work in from system to system to system. But we do have to call out that that is what the future looks like. That's not necessarily a right here, right now, 100%.
Yeah, what I will say is, maybe you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I don't use account engagement. I'm on Marketing Cloud. I don't really feel like I need to know. I don't see myself using Marketing Cloud Growth anytime soon, so Flow's not really in my vision. But if Data Cloud is in your vision, I certainly would recommend getting familiar with it. Myself personally, you know, I come from a marketing cloud background and I'm jumping into that data cloud world. So Flow is not something that I was as familiar with either. But I was lucky enough to attend a data cloud architecture boot camp the day before Connections as well. So I got some really cool insights from that as well. And Flow is something that you definitely will use and can use in data cloud to kind of get around some of the out of the box functionalities and things like that. So you can do some really cool things with Flow to currently right now work within data cloud and make sure the system is working exactly the way you want to do and sending data where you want it to go and refreshing things at the time you want it to and things like that. So don't hesitate. I mean, I think the more knowledge is power, right? But it definitely may not tie into your everyday working in marketing cloud engagement. But it's really important to know in terms of just how data cloud interacts with it as well.
Yeah, it's just such an important tool, and it's, again, I think it's like Jacob said, it's a little intimidating when you first look at it, but when you start getting into it, it's very logical, and it's really similar to Adam's point to Journey Builder, or to you know, and if you're looking at the account engagement equivalent of Engagement Studio, it's very similar from a logical perspective. It just gives you so much more power. It's crazy. My answer to everything used to be, oh, I can do it with an Engagement Studio program, or I can do it with Journey Builder. Now it's, I can do it with a Flow. It changed the whole dynamic, but great tool.
Yep. So we've gone through and spent the first kind of half, little over half, talking through these are the cool things we've learned, what we're seeing from the future of marketers using Salesforce and thinking through that kind of what's the importance of clean data, data cloud as a whole helping us be more productive, and AI being so helpful for efficiency. What should we be doing to action on these takeaways? So the first one being prepare your data. So Adam alluded to this a little bit already. I'll let him take this one over and add more context to that.
Yeah, I mean, not to like harp on the same point over and over, but really, you know, taking the time to make sure your data is in a good spot, your data is clean, your data works for you, not against you, is super important when you're looking at you know, implementing data cloud and utilizing these tools. You can see it right here. I think we've said it 3 or 4 times already on here, but the clicks not code makes life easier in terms of actually configuring the product. But really, 80% of that is that strategy aspect to it. Before you even get in the tool, before you even configure anything, you want to have everything mapped out. What data sources are you using? How does that data map to the data model objects within Data Cloud? What are the identity resolution rule sets that you're going to use? Do you have that data accessible and available, or do you need to do some pre-work ahead of time? It's really, really important to kind of go through this process prior to jumping in the data cloud. Now, not to like scare you away, I think they're like Mike said, trailheads, some of these learning opportunities where you can kind of jump in and get some hands-on experience is super critical and important, but don't skip steps when it comes to implementing the product itself. So on the next slide, we kind of have what we call 5 steps for data readiness, things to think about when looking to see whether you're ready to go ahead and move forward in terms of your data. And so number 1, really kind of audit your data, take a look at it. Is it accurate? Is it complete? Do you have a lot of duplicates that you need to clean up? When you think about like unifying profiles, if you have duplicate records, you're gonna have duplicate issues in Data Cloud. I mentioned this before, but it's not a system that cleans your data. So you need to kind of take care of these things upstream before you bring it into Data Cloud. Are you accounting for privacy preferences? And really, one of the most important things is your data accessible? Data Cloud has tons of out-of-the-box connectors and ways that you can get data in, but from a company and IT standpoint, do you have the ability to connect your data, or are there some internal things going on where you're just not going to be able to get that data out of the systems that you have? So really go ahead, do that complete audit, and then take a look at understanding how your data is structured. Having that thorough understanding of your data structure is fundamental for that smooth transition into Data Cloud. It enables you to have effective data management, security, and just the utilization of the tool itself. And then if you don't already have one, definitely would recommend establishing a data governance framework. This ensures that you have accurate, accessible, consistent, and secure data. And some key components to think about when you're looking at a data governance framework are things like policies. What policies do you have in place or need to put in place around defining rules and guidelines for data management and data usage? Who and what are the roles and responsibilities for your data? Data stewards, data owners, who's the data custodians, those sorts of things need to be clearly defined so you have those processes in place. What are those processes for data collection, for storage, for access and sharing the data? And then monitoring and auditing that data, maintaining its good data, its clean data, all those sorts of things. And that, I mean, that really, ties into implementing data quality management processes, just following that governance to ensure that you have clean data, that your processes is being followed and in place. Those are all really, really important steps. And then the last one really is one that I had harped on over and over and over, is defining those impactful use cases. You're not going to get the ROI out of the tool if you don't have clear use cases defined. And those are more than just, I want to unify my data. Okay, that's great. Data Cloud unifies your data. What does that allow you to do? Being able to say this unified data allows me to do X, which will drive Y, is really, really important. So taking those times, the time ahead of time to make sure you have the data in place to have those use cases and define the KPIs necessary, super important.
Yep. So we harp on these steps because they ultimately, we have the other action items in this, and they all kind of come back to this primary focus of you have to make sure your data is organized. We can't echo enough Adam's point around this is not your deduping tool. This is helping with visualizing your unified profile, but we're not cleaning, we're not doing that deduping. So if you still have dupes, you're going to get some of that issue. All of that being said, when we think through, we have to get our data clean, we have to get everything organized properly. Well, we can make sure the backend's done, that as Mike said earlier, that 80% of the work done ahead of time to get your data clean. We still need to make sure we know how to use Data Cloud. We can clean up the data and get all organized, have our governance rules in place all day long. But if we don't understand how to get it working within Data Cloud, then we're kind of still up a creek a little bit. So Mike, how would you recommend we get to know Data Cloud and learn Data Cloud better?
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of great resources on Trailhead, and that's kind of what got me really excited about it. There were 3 modules in particular that I really liked. One's called Create a Data Stream in Data Cloud. One's called Quick Start, Create a Identity Resolution Skill Set, and one's called Quick Start Enhanced Data with Insights. And these are like hands-on modules, which are really cool. It spins up a Data Cloud instance for you, and these are cumulative. So you're basically going through and building these 3 steps out. So be careful when you're doing this because the demo orgs expire relatively quick. So if you don't get all 3 steps done before it expires, you have to go back and start again, which is great from a repetition standpoint. I've created data stream multiple times. My org expired on me, but It's great to do that. There's also a module out there. It's called Data Cloud for Marketers or something to that nature, where it actually is geared solely for marketers and talks about segmentation and how a marketer would actually use Data Cloud. So I know we're running low on time, so we'll kind of move ahead, but those are resources I would definitely check out. There's a whole big trail mix in there right now too on preparing for your Data Cloud consult certification too, that has everything you could imagine in there. So if you're interested in that, check that out too.
Yep. And 2 comments inside chat. What modules were those again? Mike, if you could
I'll
add
put
those
it. I'll
to
put it in
chat, that'd
chat.
be amazing.
I'll put it in
And
chat.
also we will make sure that the recording will be sent out afterwards. Our marketing team is fantastic in making sure that will be sent out accordingly. So action item number 3, this is a quick one. We're not going to take too much time to harp on it, but ultimately check your org version because some of these things might already be available for you. So at least, and again, I'm speaking from the account engagement standpoint. Adam can add some quick context for the engagement side, but you get for account engagement, behavior scoring, lead scoring, attribution, campaign insights, etc., out of the box with account engagement advanced edition. And I believe this was a part of the most recent release, but we Einstein generative AI, Einstein assistant, Einstein GPT, whatever you want to call it at the end of the day, that is also available now with account engagement advanced edition. You can go in to set up and go through the steps of turning that on. I actually got to play with that inside of the in one of the sessions at Connections, where I was able to go through, and inside of the classic builder, I could have the Einstein assistant on the right-hand side of my screen and type in prompts of what I wanted to call my form, call my email, have the SEO text tags description of my landing page to be. I could do body content in my classic builder email where I could copy and paste it over and have that Einstein assistant, Einstein generative AI help me with my content in the moment. So again, very, very important. If you have advanced edition, you get some of this stuff out of the box already. So the last piece that Mike and I will kind of tackle before we dive into our resources and keep it open for questions is going to be around start learning flow. It was the last takeaway, so it's going to be the last action item. We talked about this a little bit already, but we can't harp on this enough, that so much of what we are doing now as marketers on, again, flow's not as common inside of the engagement side because you have this amazing journey builder. But when you're thinking of end-to-end process, and I'm trying to say, I want to market to my individuals, be able to automate how tasks are being created, how qualification is taking place, how assignments are being done, more likely than not, your process is not standard out of the box. There is something niche about what you are doing, something specific to what your business process requires that doesn't fully fit the out of the box. And so being able to use engagement, use account engagement for what you need to use them for website tracking, engagement tracking, forms, emails, landing pages, etc. SMS push and kind of those complex B2C journeys you can create in engagement. But once that data is organized and you're ready to send that to Salesforce, what do you do with it there? So often nowadays, our marketing teams are being asked by sales and the admins to create flows, create processes to make sure these leads are qualified correctly, are being sent to the right sales reps, are being added to the right campaigns, are being having custom notifications that add a little more context to our sales or operations team. Flow is that solution to give you that additional complexity. Account engagement, again, my background, you don't have the ability to add variable tags or variable information to your comments section of a task. That's why we want to create tasks through flow to be able to say, if my campaign member status is this, that, or the other, I can trigger flows to give you very personalized, very specific email notifications and tasks. And so there's so much you can do with that. I'm going to let Mike add a little context, though, to why that's important for the future of Salesforce.
Yep. So yeah, so not to harp too much on the Trailhead thing again, but there's a ton on Trailhead here. The other thing with Flow right now that I really would recommend you all do is, if your organization has a sandbox org, which it probably does, that's a great place to practice with your flows, because you can go in there, you can build a flow out, you can debug it, you can test it inside your sandbox org. You're using, whether it's a partial sandbox or dev sandbox or whichever version it is, you at least have some data in there that's more resembles your organization, and you're not going to really impact any of your data in your production org. So that's the real key takeaway to me on flows here. If you're learning on this, you're practicing on this, do not do anything in production. So, listen to that part of the recording multiple times. Do not do anything with flow in production. We'll say it again, but definitely start looking in sandboxes. Trailhead modules are great. We also have, Sercante actually offers a flow workshop for marketers as well. We just actually had one yesterday. So if you want a little bit more hands-on experience, check out our website. You'll find the next date there. That's a great place to kind of get some hands-on, learning with a instructor to help you along the way.
So with that said, that's actually a perfect go into our final 2 slides. So these are some resources that we have compiled, blog articles, links to Trailhead. We have an upcoming live training for Data Cloud and AI for marketers, I believe, July 30th. So we have a lot of great resources in addition to what Mike has added to chat for quick starts and trailheads and modules to review. So all of that being said, the resources are all there. We want to be as helpful as possible. So with the last few minutes we kind of want to open up to a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them to chat, and we can go from there to answer any questions. Let's take a look though through it now, see if we have any immediate questions. So Greg's asking, where can we find live view of usage related to Data Cloud? So just to kind of clarify for that, because I know Greg, we're in that situation. You are actively using Data Cloud to try to understand how you can kind of create a unified profile with all the different systems of Salesforce you are using. This is for live usage. So you've already gone through, started playing around with Data Cloud, and we're trying to understand how many credits have we, or how much kind of credits or components have we currently used present day. Is that correct? That is correct. So Adam, do you have any insight on that? If not, we can double back and get the answer to that.
So basically you're asking like how many credits are used per activity you're doing in Data Cloud?
Sorry, looking for where do I go to identify my current usage rates? I have my contract, I know my limits.
Yeah.
Where do I find the current usage based on what I have set up already?
Yeah. So not the best answer, but currently there is no way for you to go in and sort of see how many credits you've used, things like that. The only way as of today to get that is to get in contact with your AE and they will provide you that information. Forward-looking statement, I don't know when, but I do know that Salesforce is coming out with what they're calling a like Data Cloud wallet, basically. And it will be self-serve within the platform, and you can go and see what your current credit usage is and how that's broken down by the different activities that you can do. But I can't say when that's going to come up.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I just answered this one in chat from Adam. Is Data Cloud required for Marketing Cloud growth? So Marketing Cloud growth is built on top of Data Cloud. So the answer is yes, but you will get access to a growth edition of Data Cloud with Marketing Cloud growth. So you don't have to worry about buying the two things separately. It will be baked into the platform.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, at least as of right now, Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong, but as of right now, it's somewhat of a limited Data Cloud.
Correct, and that's why we call it like kind of the growth edition of Data Cloud. It's not a proper term, but it is a light, lesser version of Data Cloud. kind of limiting all the things you can connect to it. One of our team members, Aaron Duncan, who's absolutely brilliant, has gone through and been able to go through a setup with no knowledge, no historical knowledge of Data Cloud. And again, safe harbor, don't quote me on this. I need to double check with the time frame, but they were able to get this turned on and organized within a day's worth of work, maybe 2 days worth of work. It was not long in the slightest bit. They were able to follow the documentation, follow the steps and processes to get it all connected. Because again, all we're working on in this situation is Salesforce core data and being able to get that talking to your growth engagement data. From Jennifer Reeves, has anyone had experience of their Marketing Cloud or Pardot client wanting to switch over to Marketing Cloud Growth? And if so, has Salesforce accommodated this? I want to flag this question for our marketing team to kind of look into, partially because we're just now slowly starting to see this become a thing. So not fully end to end just yet, but we are seeing people raise their hands and people go through with this. Again, safe harbor, it was announced at Connections, but I always like to safe harbor all my statements when it comes to Salesforce Marketing Cloud Growth. But there is a ability for Pardot Growth users to talk to their AEs and learn more about what that process would look like to transition to growth. So if you are on Pardot Growth, definitely reach out to your AEs if you are interested in learning also more about Marketing Cloud Growth in that regard.
The thing to consider right now too is Marketing Cloud Growth does not have feature parity yet with Marketing Cloud Account Engagement or Marketing Cloud Engagement. It's a newer product. It's geared more towards a smaller business, organizations. Over time, as it becomes more robust and more feature rich, I think you might see more people asking that question about migration. Right now, I don't see a lot of clients asking that just because it's not fully baked yet. It doesn't have the full power of those other two platforms at this point.
So we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to keep it to one more question. And if you do have any additional questions, please feel free to email us, myself, Mike, or Adam, or reach out to the Sercante team on our website. The last question, though, from Mary, we have not used any Marketing Cloud setup. All we have used was account engagement. What would be the next step? Could you elaborate or if you're referring to access to flow, or if you're looking for like connecting Data Cloud into your org, kind of what's the end goal in this question? And if you'd like, feel free to come off mute.
So, I mean, we've used the Pardot just for sending mostly emails and stuff like that. I don't do anything with Data Cloud yet, really. I really don't know how to get any of the AI stuff functioning. I just know that everything I do through account engagement, I use Flow. I'm also a admin that just fell into this position, and I've learned everything as I go, and I don't learn that fast, or I'm just trying to figure out what the best way to get our system going in a better direction, because I feel like Pardot with our account engagement isn't really as usable as I would like it to be.
So in a situation like that, to kind of really utilize, like we had talked about earlier, check your org edition, to really truly utilize all account engagement to its full capabilities, especially when you're first getting started off, the trailheads are wonderful as a starting point. Selfish plug. I'm not usually one to go tooting our own horns, but selfish plug for Sercante is the spot. We have a ton of great blog resources available, as well as just general trainings for Salesforce for marketers, as well as account engagement boot camps to help go through those processes of kind of, while you have an org already built, let's start from scratch of, was it set up correctly? What are the ways to truly utilize all of the additional functionalities around website engagement, digital marketing strategy with account engagement. And then on top of that, how we can also see about using some of those new AI functionalities with account engagement. But we have to crawl, walk, run when it comes to account engagement a little
Yeah,
bit.
so I've done a lot with like just setting up a lot of stuff on the back end through Flow to update the tasks that are coming from account engagement to make sure that it has information from, like forms and all of that. I mean, it's just one of those things. I feel like it's backwards.
It's definitely, there are some functionalities to account engagement where it was created many, many moons ago, and it has only recently started getting some fun love of all the cool new bells and whistles. That being said, if you have any kind of very specific questions, please feel reach out to Angelica, who we called out in chat, who is commenting in chat, or myself. We'd be more than happy to kind of jump on a call, talk with you in more depth. But we are at time. We thank everyone so very much for sitting with us, talking through what Connections was like and thinking through the future of Salesforce for marketers. So if you have any additional questions, like I said, reach out to us, go to our website, sercante.com, fill out a form, or just reach out to us directly. But again, thank you so very much.
Definitely. And
Thanks,
be sure
guys.
you asked us to go to Connections next year. It was a great event to go to. So put in your request now.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.